Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something that's just a little bit different, just to kind of share. I have a new 2021 budget binder that is available today, and I will leave the link to that walkthrough of that, the whole binder down below. But I've also included this year a Google Sheets option, which is a digital format of your budget that you can use either on your computer or you can download the Google Sheets app on your phone and you can use it that way. So I am going to do just kind of a walkthrough of that budget, how everything is set up, and kind of show you how the formulas work and how it all kind of meshes together. And I'm going to take you over to my computer to show you how that works. So if you're interested in really getting a really strong budget set up for your family, starting in 2021, and you can even use it this year, moving forward. But I'm just gonna kind of walk you through that. I will leave a link to where you can get this Google Sheets download down below, as well as the 2021 budget binder, which is a PDF download where you can print it out and put it into a binder all on your own. So let's get started.
We're going to jump right into the 2021 budget template. You'll see that there are multiple sheets down here. Each one of those sheets represents one of the months of the year, and they are color coded. You will see it goes all the way across. Each month is the same. And then we will get over to these other sheets here in just a little bit. So let's just take a look at January's month. At the top, you are going to label all of your income. So these gray boxes here, you will see the light gray boxes. A lot of them, most of them will have zeros in them. Those are formulas. So those are boxes that you really don't want to touch. If you do by accident let's say you type something in here, let's just say I typed that in here and I messed up the formula. All you need to do is go back up here and hit that undo button. Oh, let's click out of it for a minute. Hit that undo button until you see the formula again and it's working properly. So that's all you need to do. There's no way for me to lack those formulas and share this the way that I shared it. So that's just how it is. So let's say that you want to label your income based on, maybe based on the person's name. So we could have, Frank. Let's say Frank got an estimated, you figured that Frank was going to get a paycheck of $1,000 and his actual paycheck turned out to be $1,000. So you plug those in. And then we'll say that we have Sue, and she gets a paycheck of, let's say she gets a paycheck of $1,000 as well. And then let's say that you have, maybe Frank has a side job and maybe you label it. You can really label these however you want. And he makes $200 from his side job. And then we'll say Sue has a side job too. And we'll say that she makes an average of around, she's figuring $300. And by the time the money comes in, she gets $300. So now these numbers, obviously I put are identical. You might figure low. That would be my suggestion. If you're not 100% sure, always go, kind of on the lower end. So these numbers here are going to be numbers that you're going to get from somewhere else on this form. So do not plug those numbers in. That's kind of important. You will automatically calculate those based on what you plug in down below. This is where you're going to plug in your expenses. So let's say you have your mortgage here, you have your insurance here, you have your electric bill here. You might have Netflix, your retirement fund. Your savings is probably going to be in here. All of those things are going to be money that you're going to plan to spend. So this is a zero-based budget. So we want all of the money that we have earned up here in the income section to be spent down here in some way, whether that is saved, donated, or spent on bills or what have you. Let's say your mortgage is $500 and your insurance, you spend $100. So your electric bill runs around $100. Netflix is $10. Let's say you put $200 into retirement and $200 into savings. Obviously, you will have more bills than this, I'm sure, but you'll notice that those bills, you get a grand total down here of what your expenses are. You're going to, then let's say you plug in your numbers, you figured $500 for your mortgage. Usually our mortgages run pretty standard. Same with insurance, but let's say our electric bill was $95. So it was a little bit less than we thought. Our Netflix and our retirement and our savings were all the same. So you'll be able to see this is what we had planned to spend, and then this number over here is what we actually spent. So cash envelopes, if you have followed my plan before, then you know that I am a big proponent of cash envelopes. These envelopes are for things that you tend to either go over budget on or are just things that are not like a regular monthly bill. So they're an expense that happens maybe at once a month, maybe every week, but it's things that you need to plan for ahead of time. So things like groceries, personal spending money, clothing money, gasoline. So let's say on groceries, Sue and Frank plan to spend $500 on their groceries. Let's say they had estimated to spend $150 on their personal spending. They budgeted $50 for clothing and $200 for gas. This is what they're budgeting. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down here and you're going to see that this is the amount of cash that they would have planned to spend. And when you come back up here, you'll see that that number is right here in the estimate. So that is auto-populated for you. So you don't have to even touch these numbers up here. You don't have to do any calculating. It does it all for you. So then let's say that all of those numbers, that what they planned is the amount of money that they took out in cash. So now you'll see that that auto-populated here, it auto-populated here, and you are ready to go. So now sinking funds. A sinking fund is something that happens, it could happen quarterly, it could happen maybe once a year. So these are things that don't happen on a regular monthly basis, but things that we need to be prepared for. So for me, I think the very best example of this is Christmas. You'll notice that these boxes here are gray. You do not want to type in those boxes. Instead, you're going to scroll over here on the bottom to your sinking funds tracker. So your sinking funds tracker, let's say you go ahead and you want to label your first one Christmas. Let's say you want to label your next one vacation fund. And then we could have a third one be car maintenance. So that's, maybe something that doesn't happen every month, but something you need to plan for. So, you could have, like I have here, up to 24 different sinking funds. Most of us probably aren't going to have that many. I would say most of us will have somewhere between 5 and 10, give or take. You might have a few more than that or a few less. So then you're going to scroll back over here, go back to January. You'll see that those that you just typed in auto-populated here for you. So you could say maybe Frank and Sue plan to spend $50 for Christmas. They plan to put $100 into their vacation fund, and they put $50 back for car maintenance. Now, those were numbers that they actually transferred into their sinking fund bank account. So that's money that you can put over here that once they've actually spent that money and they've transferred it in. You can scroll down here, see that those numbers auto-populated here for you. You can scroll up here and see in our overall expenses that you will see that those numbers in the sinking fund auto-populated here and here, so that those are being added into your expenses. Now, let's say that Frank and Sue also like to give to charities, to different charitable organizations. You'll see that these are formulas. So you want to go over here, scroll down to the bottom as you're setting this up, and you might have some different charitable organizations that you use. And so that's where you're going to type this. So let's say that you give to a nonprofit, it could be whatever, you give to your church, and then let's say you give to a missionary. You can have up to 12 here that you calculate on a regular basis. So then when you go back over here, you'll see that those labels are sitting there for you. And then you would put your estimate of what you would be giving to those. So let's say they give $50 to their nonprofit, say they tithe to their church, and then they give $50 to the missionary. So that number's total is here. Let's say at the end of the month, they have actually spent the money. They put the actual in there. Then you can scroll back up and you can see, okay, well, we've overspent. So we're going to have to go back and we're going to have to readjust some numbers. We want this to equal 0. So you're going to go back up here and you're going to say, well, let's only put $50 in our vacation fund. That takes us down to just $10 over. So if we put 50 here, this is our actual. So what do we need? We really just need to adjust this a little bit by $5 because we need to know actually how much we're going to spend. So let's say we're only going to put $45 into our Christmas fund this month. So then that number equals 0. This is the most important one. Obviously, when you're budgeting ahead at the beginning of the month or, maybe around the end of the month prior, this is the column that you're going to use. You're going to use column B as you plan, and then you're going to use column C as you actually spend the money. So now, as you come on down, let's say that you have some irregular income. Let's say Frank works on the side and makes a little bit of extra money from time to time, and it's not anything that they want to budget into their regular income, but let's say it's something that they like to plan for. This isn't something that you're not going to write down this money until it actually comes in. But if you want to prepare for that money, you want to give that money a name before it comes in, then you're going to kind of give yourself a prioritized list of how to spend it, and you're going to do that right here. So let's say items, let's say that they want to pay off a debt. So they write debt to Ford Motor Company. They want to try and pay off their car a little earlier, and they want to put hopefully $100 on that. And then if they're able to do that, then the next thing they'd like to do is to kind of amp up their vacation fund. So we're going to put $200 into our vacation fund. And then if they want to, also if they have anything above and beyond that amount, then they'd like to put a little bit of more money towards Christmas, maybe put $100 into their Christmas fund. And then they want to add a little more to their clothing envelope so that they can buy some new clothes next month. So this is the prioritized list. So if they make up to $500, they'll be able to fund all of those things. If they don't make $500, let's say they only make $300, then that means they will have been able to fund their debt payoff and their vacation. But Christmas and clothing are going to have to roll over to the next month. That's how this works. It's really good for things like if you get tips, if you have holiday pay, if you have overtime pay, any kind of irregular income. So then you could come up here and you can calculate that. So let's say Frank got a side job and he made $300 from his side job. So he knows he can go down here and he can fund all the things up to $300. As you keep scrolling down, you'll notice at the bottom that I do have credit card trackers. So this is if you use a credit card and you decide that you want to use your credit card in place of cash. I still recommend using this right here, this cash envelopes, so that you know and you can kind of transfer this down here. So let's say groceries, we know we want to spend $500 on groceries. We would put groceries here, and then every time you make a transaction at the store, you know that you have $500 to spend on groceries. So let's say that you go to Walmart and you go to Walmart on the 3rd of January. It wouldn't be your credit card. Let's say you use your Visa. That's your credit card that you used. You went to Walmart, you bought just your weekly groceries. Will be your description, and you spent $110.29. That's going to add that total up here so that you can say, okay, I have $500 to spend total. I need to keep this $110.29. I need to keep this total right here under $500 for the whole month. So you would just continue to add in your transactions as you go. Now I have 8 different budget category options for you here, so you can have up to 8 different budget categories that you track your credit card transactions with. And that's for every single month. Now you'll notice that if we go over here to our sinking funds tracker, this is where you're going to be tracking your sinking funds. I will leave a link below to a blog post that I did that kind of explains sinking funds and how we have set up our accounts that help us to keep track of that money. But what you're basically going to do is you're going to track this across the board. So let's go and let's add in some numbers so you guys can kind of see how this works. So you'll scroll down here, you'll see at Christmas, let's add $100 here, and then we'll say we added $200 here and $100 here. And then let's do the same thing for March. So let's say in March you want to do, 75, 150, and then 50. And then if you go back over to our sinking funds tracker, you'll notice that those auto-populate into these gray boxes. So let's say that in February you had to do some car maintenance and it was $55. So you plug that number in here, And then let's say in March you had to do another little bit of car maintenance. You needed to get your tires rotated, and that was $20. So then you can go over here and see that it auto-populated down to $125. So you've added 50, you've added 100, you've added 50, that's 200, but it's subtracting the money that you've spent as well. So it's subtracting the $75. So it's giving you a total of what you have left. And then if you come over here and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll notice that there's a total right here. And this is if you keep all of your sinking funds together in one bank account, this should be your total amount of money in that bank account. So then this is your charitable donations tracker. This obviously you can type in here the different charities that you give to. This is the total amount that you have given in the month of January and for every single month. And then if you scroll over, this will give you an overall total for the entire year. This is really important for our taxes so that we can write off our charitable donations. So that will be really helpful. This next form is your debt snowball tracker. So you can label these up here. So I've just labeled them number 1, number 2, number 3. But like I said, let's say Frank and Sue need to pay off their Ford. Let's say that they owe $3,500 to Ford, and in January, let's say they made a principal payment of $228. So that's going to calculate down. And then let's say in February, they were able to pay more. Let's say they were able to pay $527. And then it's going to continue to calculate out as you go down the months. Okay. So then once that is paid off, it will zero out and you can roll that money into the next month. Down here at the bottom, it will tell you how much you paid on that specific debt for the month. And then all of these debts for the entire year, whatever your principal payments have totaled up, will be this number right here, this big number. And that is going to show you how much you've paid off in debt in 2021. As you keep scrolling over, you will find your emergency fund tracker. Now these, like I said, the gray boxes, try not to touch that. So you're going to have a starting balance. So let's say that you start out your emergency fund with $5,000. And let's say in January you added $150. That was just your monthly deposit that you add to that. Let's say you did that on the 10th of the month in 2021. So then this should give you a running balance of what you have spent or what you have added, to your emergency fund. But now let's say you have to spend some money out of your emergency fund. Let's say you spend $500 because you had to buy a washing machine. And you did that on the 25th of January. So that's going to take your balance down. So this is a really good way for you to keep track of how much you've spent, any of your deposits, any of your withdrawals, and really kind of make sure that you're doing things with a purpose. The next 3 trackers are savings trackers. They're all the same. They just are different. They're kind of color coded differently for you. So these, you can just say what you're saving for. So you could just type in here, let's say you're saving for some new furniture. And let's say you don't have any money to start with, but you'd like to start saving. So, let's say in January on the 10th, you were able to add $200 to this fund. And then let's say in February on the 7th, you were able to add another $150 to this fund. So you can kind of see how much you've saved. And then, if you're trying to save for a whole year, or if you're just trying to save for a short amount of time, then you can just kind of restart these and delete, what you were saving for and change it to something different. So that's what those next 3 are for. The next one is a car maintenance spending tracker. So here's where you're going to label your car, Ford F-150, if that's the type of car you have. And then every time that you have some kind of car maintenance done, let's say you get new tires and that was completed by Joe's mechanic shop, and you did that on the 15th of January, and those cost $652.29. And then let's say in February you had to have an oil change. You did that at Joe's as well. That was on the 3rd of the month, and that was $52.69. So your total overall spent, you've kind of got this total of what you've spent on that vehicle for the entire year. This is a really good way for you to kind of track your spending and know how much you need to add to a sinking fund like car maintenance throughout the year. So you can track up to 3 different vehicles on here and like all of the maintenance that you do. So this is a really good way to kind of prepare yourself for next year, and also just make sure that you're putting the right amount into your sinking funds, like I said. So these all kind of work the same way. This is the home maintenance spending tracker. So this will help you track, any maintenance tasks that you do around your home, and it will give you a total as well down here. So if that's maybe one of those categories of sinking funds that you have, medical and dental spending, this is good for insurance purposes, pet care, so if you have pets. And then the last one is just a blank spending tracker. So you can give it a label here if you have something specific you want to track, your action, your purpose, and then the amount that you've spent on it over here, and it's going to give you a total. And so if you need more than one, you can always come over here, hit that little arrow button, and then hit duplicate, and then you can give it a name. So that is really easy to do. Now I am going to show you guys kind of how this looks on a cell phone. It's all functions exactly the same way. You just will maybe need this on the go, and I think that's the wonderful thing about this. So you're going to go to your Google Sheets app, and that will pull up the Google Sheets template. You can see it looks exactly the same as it did on the computer. You can use your fingers to zoom in and out. I'm just going to kind of scroll through here so that you guys can kind of see all of those numbers that we plugged in on the computer are still here for us, so that you can kind of go back and forth from the computer to your phone to a tablet or whatever you're using. So then you'll see that if we scroll over to the different months, you'll see different forms. All of these are the same. They are color coded for you so that you can find what you need easily. Here is the sinking funds tracker. This one will show you all of those numbers that we've already put in there. So I am just going to keep scrolling through these sheets so that you can see them. Here's the charitable donations tracker. Again, I just use my fingers to kind of scroll out so that I can see a little bit of a more complete view of it. You can scroll left and right, up and down. Here's the emergency fund tracker and all of the different trackers that we have for savings. And car maintenance is coming up, and all of those different trackers that you can use on your phone or on your computer.
I really hope that walkthrough kind of gave you guys a really good feel of how this budgeting system is set up and how it works. It is based off of Dave Ramsey's principles of finances, which really advocate for paying off your debt, having a nice cushion savings fund, and really giving every single dollar a name and living on a zero-based budget. If it did, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. While I do share this kind of content from time to time, my content more centers around simple living, decluttering your home, and living just a simplified life, living organized. And I do throw in some really minimal decorating ideas in there too, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. So if that is your thing, please hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you here. I will also make sure to link to all the other information about the budget binder and the Google templates document down below if you guys want to find out more information. I will see you guys in my next video. I hope that you have a wonderful week. Bye guys.